Hello, thanks for tuning in and welcome to the pool party. I hope you can swim because we're definitely diving into the deep end with a huge splash of truth, facts, evidence, information, and proof. Swim. Say what you mean. It's talk about talking. How we listen, how we hear, how we speak, how we hear what we're listening to when we speak, how a listener hears what we're saying, if what we're saying, what they're actually hearing and or understanding. Is it clear? Swim. Say what you mean. Well, that's just the beginning of understanding, because after we get that understanding, how do we accept it? How we respond if it's not what we expect is paramount. Are you okay with the truth? Are you man, woman, human, or spiritual enough to accept the truth? Let's find out.
Yeah, let's do that.
Welcome to The Swimming Pool with your host, Travis Bridges.
Hey, that would be yours truly, and thank you so much for joining me. It is indeed The Swimming Pool. It's SWYM. That is the acronym for Say What You Mean. And of course, I have to ask the question, are you saying what you mean? Are you meaning what you are saying? Is whoever you're talking to understanding what you mean? Are you understanding what they're saying as well as what they're meaning? Are you on the same page with whoever you are communicating with? It's very important. I am convinced that lots of chaos can be solved if we can get past not understanding and getting out of our own way, moving our emotions, our feelings, our thoughts, our beliefs, and our personal agendas out the way. That's very difficult to do. And I can see it in almost every situation. You can watch TV, whether it's a sitcom, whether it's the news, you will listen to a situation. And now one of my favorite TV programs is the Judge Judy show. I really like Judge Judy, and if I get to meet her one day, I'm going to kiss her right on the lips, because that's how much I appreciate her, because there's something about the way she does what she do in terms of analyzing, listening, and of course she follows the law, but she listens carefully to all of the information, and whether you like it or not, she puts it right here, right in your face. And if you analyze it, you will find that she's pretty much right, pretty much true, pretty much in line with the law, and you get what you get when you go to Judge Judy's court. So big shouts out to Judge Judy. I love you, Judge Judy. Anyway, back to my point, I am sort of teetering on that because I believe that if we are willing to be okay with the truth, there's nothing else left to do. Our egos are very powerful. Our beliefs are very, very powerful. And it's just going to be hard to have any kind of peace unless we're able to put those things aside. Now, don't take what I'm saying out of context. It doesn't mean if you have a strong belief in something like, if you believe you should take a bath at least every other day, that, maybe you should let somebody convince you to take a bath maybe once a week to save water. Totally off subject, but I went that far just so I could make a point. Anyway, I do have a guest standing by, and we're going to get to my guest in a few minutes. I have two topics. My guest does not know what the topics are going to be, and I'm going to claim to take it easy on my guest, but I want to read the description about this live stream, and I'm just going to jump off and read it. So forgive me for not having a teleprompter. I'm going to have to look down at my notes here, and it goes as follows. We are responsible for what happens to us. Sure, there are things that are out of our control, but as it relates to what we can do, our attitude and thoughts take precedence over all negative energy. The moment we allow excuses to enter the equation or give power to outside sources, we start the downhill slide to misery. It involves complaining and making other things and people our problems. Again, sure, people and situations can hit us on the blind side, and some people can be jerks towards us and create obstacles. But we must choose wisely how to respond to every situation. Let's just do better in how we see ourselves and our circumstances. Yes, it's very hard and very difficult, but look at those we admire and ask them if their accomplishments are or were easy. Change is good. Let's review our circumstances. Let's review our circumstances and see how we can improve. We deserve it. So, best wishes to seeing things differently and taking steps towards positive change. That is the description. You can go back and review that on this live stream. And as I said, I have two subjects that I'm going to talk about with my guests. They're going to be interesting. And I'm a little nervous about them, but I have faith in my guests that they will maintain and work with me. Christine is in the house and Anthony Morrow is in the house. I thank you both. They have got to be my most faithful friends and partners here on the swim program. Say what you mean. And one day I'm going to invite you guys to something and you're going to get total VIP treatment. So thank you guys. And for everyone else that watches later in the week, later in the month, and just later on in life, I appreciate it. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go right to the phone and my guest is standing by. Guest, are you there? Wow. What happened to my guest? My guest has the phone muted. And
I have it. I'm sorry. I couldn't unmute. I unmuted now. My apologies.
Okay. So how are you this evening?
Doing well.
Did you hear any of my introduction?
I did.
Okay. You just were not ready to. You could not unmute is what you were saying.
Correct. I heard everything you said. I heard about the VIP, and because I've been a guest like several times, hopefully I'll get the VIP treatment as well whenever you invite us to something.
Absolutely. Always front row to everything, I promise. Tell me about my intro, the description that I just read. What stood out more than anything?
Well, it wasn't part of your intro, but it was your liking for Judge Judy. And you are, I won't say the first, but not too many individuals enjoy Judge Judy. But nevertheless, that was what caught my attention and I listened to. And the swim, I understand you're always supposed to say what you mean. So that people will understand that what you're really saying is what you really mean. So it was somewhere in there. I was listening. Okay.
All right. So I'm going to get right into it because I'm going to try to make our time. And thanks again for being on my live stream. I really appreciate it. The two subjects are women who cut their hair and overweight struggles. And I'm going to tell you about both of those topics. I've had two very close and dear friends who just all of a sudden just went to the barber and just said, cut it all off. And they were both beautiful women with beautiful sets of hair. And obviously they were both going through something, and I'm going to get into that. And based on my understanding of, I'm going to use the Bible as a reference on this case. You know, a woman's glory is in her hair. And when I hear this is not the first, second, or 10th time I've heard of, women or no women who have done that. And it just kind of did something to me, and I definitely don't need to call names, but I do want to talk about it to someone who's, has no dog in the fight, which of course is you. But the other subject, the overweight struggles, I know part of, your social media platform, you talk about that. And before I get into it, as I just said, I had two friends in the past, 2 weeks that did the exact same thing. And I'm just kind of bothered by it, and I want to talk about it. But I also want to talk about overweight struggles. You've known me for a very long time, and from the time I can remember, I've I've always been a little chunky boy, and I've always loved myself, but I didn't like myself, because of, being teased about being called fat boy and whatnot. And about 10, 11, 12 years ago, I reached a point where it's like, okay, I've had all I could stand and I can't stand no more. That's one of my lines from Popeye and Pals. And I started juicing, and I lost a grand total of 113 pounds. I was fly, I was fine, I was hot, my cologne was on point, and I was just really feeling good about myself. But after about a year and a half of that, and over the past 10 years or so, I've gained and lost about 40 to 60 pounds about 3 or 4 times. And it's just been a struggle for me. I've always known what to do, and I've always done it, but I lose a little grip each time. And this time I decided I'm going to do it. And since the first of the year, I am down a whopping 30 pounds. I feel good. And I'm just determined this time that I'm not going to get back on that roller coaster to go back to that place that I was where I didn't like myself again. I want to say that I always loved myself, but not liking myself can be just as powerful as not loving myself. So I want to jump on that overweight struggles last, but I want to ask you in particular about this cutting of the hair in particular. I am going to kind of group it under the umbrella of a type or a form of self-mutilation. When people go through these situations, whether it's a breakup, whether it's a divorce, whether it's the loss of a job, a house, or a car, or even, sometimes when we lose loved ones and we go through a struggle, we go to this place. And I'm going to talk about myself for a moment as it relates to that. My life coach would tell me each time I would go, hold on. Okay, looks like I lost you.
You did, but I called back because I definitely want to be a part of this conversation this evening.
Okay, well, I don't know what you heard. My guests know what I was saying. I was talking about, I was going to jump on the topic, the women and the hair thing. What did you hear? Well, let me just tell you where. I'm just going to recap. Let me just recap. Let me just recap for the sake of time. I look at that situation as a type of mutilation, if I'm using the right word, and I'm going to talk about myself. And I was talking about my life coach who would talk about me and doing the same thing, because I'm just as guilty in just a different way. Every now and then, whenever I would get so down, I would try to go back to this place of losing weight. And what I would do is I would go on a 3, 4, 5, even 9-day fast. I fasted for 10 days one time. And some way, somehow, my life coach would explain to me that I was harming myself even more. And I couldn't see it then, but I was doing the same harm that I would do when I would eat all the food and then feel miserable. I would punish myself again by going on a fast, because a fast, for the sake of losing weight for the most part, is, I guess, for lack of a better word, another way of punishing. So I didn't understand at that time, and somehow I'm still, struggling with it, because I would be thinking that I was doing something good, but subconsciously and psychologically, I was doing the same thing. I was hurting myself by hurting myself. So I'm thinking people who cut themselves, people who binge on alcohol or drugs or sex or gambling, they do that, as a psychological way to stay in a place of misery because of familiarity. I'm sure I'm touching a lot of areas, and I'd like to say, I'm not a psychologist, not a psychiatrist, I'm not a therapist, not a minister or a counselor of anything like that. It's just I have enough life experiences to where I can at least raise some questions about some of the things that cross my path, and this is just one of those. So to get right into it, on our first topic, women in particular who cut their hair. What are your thoughts about that, particularly as it relates to what the Bible says when it talks about a woman's glory is in her hair or something to that degree? What are your thoughts about women who do the big chop? And remember, I'm not talking about women who have like a relaxer issue where their hair is breaking off or they have chemical damage. I'm saying someone who goes through a depressing time and then they just go and skin their hair down, bald, and then say, okay, I'm just doing something different and new so that I can feel better. What are your thoughts?
Well, I believe that if it's making them feel better, it's to each his own. However, with the preference of the hair thing being in a certain sorority, you had to have lengthable hair, meaning it had to be shoulder length. So that was always, how can I say, an accent, something beautiful. And as you said in the Bible, that was your glory. And even when it came down to, I forget the guy's name in the Bible that got his hair cut.
Samson.
He lost, Samson, yes. He lost his strength. So I do believe that there are some features that men, and I'm going to say African American men here in Georgia, they tend to want a woman with hair. But if a person chooses, or if a woman chooses to cut their hair, it's up to them, because they have to look at themselves in the mirror. And if they feel that they're beautiful, whether with hair or without hair, it's all up to them.
Okay, I appreciate that. But what I think you just did was you added something different into the mix. I will go on the record and say I agree that it is a personal choice. And that goes without saying. Anyone over the age of 9, 10, or the law says 18 and or 21, you have the right to choose whatever you want to do with yourself. It's an adult choice. That's not what I'm talking about at all. This is a yes or no question. When women do that, particularly when they are going through something or just coming out of something, do you think it's psychological or just a freedom of choice? Do you think it is tied to an emotional dysfunction? Yes or no?
No.
Why not?
It's choice. It's
well, I'm trying
choice.
to remove choice. Having choice, I already know that it's a choice. That goes without saying. My older brother would often say, don't state the obvious. I know that an adult can make a choice. So that's not the answer I'm looking for. For the most part.
To say it's emotional, I don't agree it's emotional. I feel that people just like to change periodically. That's just like coloring your hair. Whether you color it, cut it, whatever. Sometimes you just want change.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So, considering that women, this glory thing, I don't know a lot about it. I probably should have done my homework and figured out what scripture it was and known more about it. I have known at least 10 women in my lifetime that have done that. And each time I've asked, what happened? Why did you do that? It's as a result of them going through something traumatizing or emotional or something that really impacted their lives, as to where they felt like that's what they would do to either mutilate themselves. And that's just the umbrella I'm putting it under. Maybe that's a harsh word, but I just find it difficult that a woman would look at her hair and cut it without there being some kind of psychological dysfunction. There are so many other things that you can do, without doing that. And I'm just going to go on this. There are men. Well, should I go here? Lord? When this is going to be tough, but forgive me in advance. When men in particular, dismember their genitalia, for whatever reason. There's different reasons why men do that. But as much as it's a choice, there is something psychological or emotional going on that would cause a man to say that is something that I want to do. Would you say that is more related to something psychological or emotional, or just choice? Men.
Most definitely psychological, because any person that mutilates or cause harm to themselves, there definitely has to be something going on.
Right. So I gave that as a comparison because I wanted to talk about men and women, and I wanted to be extreme on purpose just so that I could make the point of the principle. I guess you being a woman, you've got to be safe and, be careful at what you say. And I'm just going to go on record and say, as much as I realize it's a choice, and that's not the focal point that I'm making right now, when a woman, something as important as her hair to women, it's known, it's biblical, it's psychological. Every woman that I've ever known appreciates combing their hair, brushing their hair, styling their hair and wearing their hair.
I'm going to stop you right there, because I'm a woman with plenty of hair. And I always tell people I don't wear a weave because I have to. I wear it because it's convenient, and I don't like combing hair. So you just said that most women, when they're busy or they're career driven, they don't have time for all of that. So they give a substitute. But I will go back as far as say this. My husband, who is now deceased, when we first met, and I said it had to be a Georgia thing of an African-American male, regardless. He would ask me every day, is your hair long? What kind of hair? Your texture, da-da-da. And I would always tell him, I have long hair. But until I went to the salon, had the lady to cut all of that out my hair so he could feel it, touch it, see it, that was the big thing for him. But hair is really just something, how can I say? It's just something. Either you got it or you don't. If you cut it, it's fine. If you let it grow down your back where you can sit on it, it's still fine. It's not anything of precedence, in my view. It's just my view, because everybody have their own point of view, and that's my point of view. So when a person cut their hair, that's just like, I'll be turning 60 in a year and a half. And when I turn 60, I may want to do something different. But whether it's cut hair, change color, change style, it's not emotional. It's just, I want to change.
Okay.
So I can't connect cutting my hair or being the big chop, dealing with something traumatizing or something that's emotional. It could be a good thing. And like I said, change can be good.
Mm-hmm. Well, once a woman turns 60, that's usually one of those things that, is a big turning point, and it will cause them to do something just like that. And just for the record, I'm not talking about color. I'm not talking about style. I'm not talking about even a wig or even a weave. I'm talking about a razor or clippers, and going as far as you can go to where it's like, I like to use the term skint,
Okay, well, see, I missed that, because I was thinking you were saying that the big chop, you could have a perm and have to cut off all the perm off
that
your hair.
I covered that. I covered that in the beginning. I'm not talking about for those reasons. I'm saying for a woman to decide, I'm cutting it all off.
Doing Isaac Hayes. So their hair is like an Isaac Hayes. That's what
either
you're saying.
Isaac Hayes or just as close as you can go with clippers, or Isaac Hayes is like me, totally bald. I'm gonna go on, for the sake of time. I'm not talking about style. I'm not talking about color. I'm not talking about weave or anything like that. I'm talking about just deciding one day, okay, because I'm into something. But I think I got what I needed to hear, and I appreciate, your feedback on that. I'm gonna go ahead and move on. from there. But I've had, a couple of friends, like I said, literally in the last 10 or 12 days, who, who went through something somewhat traumatic, and that was their choice to either start over or find a new place to be. And it just kind of disturbed me. And, I didn't like it. These are people that are, close to me. And I just thought that they could have done something.
Did it look good? How did it look?
I'm not going to say it looked bad, because beauty is not in hair, and I'm not trying to get into that argument. But just because you don't like something doesn't mean it looks good or bad. But I prefer a woman, whether it's my daughter, my sister, my wife, just anybody. I think a woman, is just, I prefer a woman with hair. It's just something that adds to her beauty. Not that not having hair takes away from it. It's just a personal preference for me. And every man that I have ever known has always appreciated that accent in a woman, that feature, having, beautiful hair, whether it's long or short. I've never met a man that says, oh, I can't wait to meet a woman that has a haircut that looks like a dude. So I'm just going to leave it right there. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not knocking women who wear short hair at all. I'm just saying, I'm just going to leave it right there. Let's go to the other topic, unless you have something you want to close on that.
Leave it right where you left it.
Okay, let's leave it there. Now, let's get into what's directly related to me. As you know, I said in the beginning that I at one time lost 113 pounds, and I'm grateful that my body, received the weight loss well, because I didn't have some of the after effects that I hear about when people lose that much weight. And even now that I'm 30 pounds down from where I was at the beginning of the year, I'm still seeing my body somewhat respond okay, considering I am years old. I'm okay, but I'm just at a place of where my mind is different. I've had enough of the roller coaster to where I think this time I'm going to do. But I want to ask you some personal questions about your struggle. Tell me briefly about your struggle, because I know you've addressed it even on your social media platform. Tell me about your fitness and nutrition and or weight loss struggles.
Well, this is definitely a great conversation, because I always say I just became a certified life coach. And so with that being said, building a brand is very difficult. However, especially when you're obese. And I say this because even in the business world, when you walk in, you can have all the credentials that you want to have. And when you're obese, and society say that when you're overweight, you're unhealthy. Whereas you could be healthy as an ox, but if you're overweight, they feel you're unhealthy. And my struggles with this is I've accomplished a lot of things in my life, have my doctoral degree, all of that. But it would always be in the back of my mind, why is it so difficult for me to lose these 50 pounds that I have been trying to lose forever? And as you said, I started at the beginning of the year, and after getting my certification as being a personal life coach, I said, how can I share wisdom and knowledge for other people to do better when I'm not doing better? And so I've been taking it day by day, one day at a time. And you said something that really struck a nerve when you said that you would eat and gorge and then go on a fast. Well, my train of thought, or what I have been doing, but I know better now, because even though you're eating better, you're supposed to be doing healthier things, when you fall off the track, you just have to acknowledge it. Don't beat yourself up. Dust your shoes off and get back on, because your mind wants to tell you, hey, you did something bad. and you got to be punished. But that's not realistic, because before the Christmas holidays, I had lost 37 pounds. And after the holidays, I had gained about 9 of those 37 pounds back. So I was really like, wow, I can't do this to myself. But I find now I'm more aware. Previously, I would eat anything and everything and not think anything of it. Now you have to be more conscious of what you're eating, the amount you're eating, and the time that you're eating, if you're serious about losing the weight naturally. I thought about going the route of getting the gastric bypass, instant gratification, but in the words of my deceased husband, that is just a simple fix. And if you truly want to lose weight, put your mind, heart, and soul to it, and you can do it. So that's the only reason I didn't sign on the dotted line to go forth with the gastric bypass.
Okay, on that note, you just said something that caused me to want to stop you. You said if you want to do something, you put your mind to it. And that's where I am today. I want to ask you some questions about your struggles. Okay, You said that in a year and a half, you're going to be 60. Okay, These are some quick yes or no questions.
All right.
In all of your time of struggle, have you dedicated one solid year to exercising every single day and or eating 100% nutritious for one solid year? Yes or no? Have you ever done that and stuck with it?
No.
Okay. The next question is, do you know, as you just said, in order to get those kinds of results, that's the only way? You mentioned gastric bypass, and there's 100 billion programs out there, and the weight loss and fitness industry is a multi-trillion-dollar industry because of the false hope that it gives people, which is going to lead me right to where I am today. And I'm grateful. And I said last week that I don't want to be where I am and then look down on people. But I have some news that's going to be very hard to hear about what's happening with me in this day. And I'm thanking God, and I'm knocking on wood, and I'm grateful that I can stay in this good place that I find myself. But because you have not done what I just asked you, is the one and only reason you have not been able to achieve your goals. Do you believe that? Yes or no?
No.
Unless you have a medical problem, do you? Yes or no?
No.
So if you don't think you're being disciplined and consistent is the only reason you have not been able to conquer that struggle, what is the reason you have not been able to succeed at healthy weight loss?
Emotional ties, events in your life. It comes a time where some people eat out of stress, out of duress, you name it. You find that as your comfort. So it's not about being disciplined. And I don't think there is no one on the face of the earth that's going to exercise 365 days out of a year. Now, if you say, have you given 3 days out of the week? Yes.
But that's not what I said.
Days,
That's not what I said, and it's not what I meant. I was very specific and very direct when I said 365 days, because once your mind is locked and set, it's even in the Bible.
And I quote, you said that, did you or have you given yourself an entire year, which is 365 days, where you ate healthy and you exercised daily? And that's why I said no. I have been on different regimens, but I will not tell anyone that I'm going to exercise 365 days every day of the year.
Okay. Well,
it's not
let me jump in real quick. You put the number of days in. When I said dedicate yourself for a year, sometimes a year could be 3, 5, 7 days a week for some people. And there are some people who do work out every single day. And then they eat right.
Because you said what you said. Now, remember, this conversation is say what you mean. And you said an entire year, taking that the entire year consists of 365 days out of the year. So therefore, I said no.
Okay.
Had you said
Well,
allowed yourself an accurate
okay,
amount of
so
time
we
or how
have
many days per week,
okay, we have the
I
opportunity
would
for
have
me.
said yes.
We have the opportunity for me to clarify. When I said a year, I could have easily said 365 days. I didn't say that because it's not what I meant. When I said a year, I
You
was
have to say what you mean.
okay. Hold on a second. Just allow. That's why we're clarifying. I said what I meant. I didn't mean to say 365 days. I meant to say
But
a
you said
year.
a year.
Okay? So a year can be whatever it means to you. If you've dedicated yourself a complete year, whether it's every day, 3 times a week, have you been consistent for a year with whatever you started and tried without falling off? Whether it's 3 days a week or 5 days a week or 1 day a week. Have you done that? And your answer was no, correct?
My answer was no, because when you said what you said, and I thought you meant what you said by saying an entire year, I said no. I have had.
Okay, for the
some-
sake of time, I get your point. Let me just start over. This is where I want to go. I think I'm going to be able to make my point and keep us on time. Whether it's 365 days a year, whether it's 1 day a week, 3 days a week, 5 days a week, whatever, have you taken a year or equivalent to a year and have been totally dedicated to whatever you set your mind to without falling off for a year? Yes or no?
I can't answer a yes or no because you continuously say a year. However, I have not been on this journey, but since, let me see, go back, since October of last year. So it would not be applicable to your question. In the time frame that I started this journey for the last time, now I have in the past had no success, but from the month of October up till now, I've been very successful. Even though I had some stumbling, I won't say stumbling blocks, but I did gain some of the pounds back over the Christmas holidays, but I didn't fall off the wagon. It's better to lose 1 pound than not to lose any. So I've been very consistent from the time that I've started.
Okay.
But it has not been an entire year. Now, you ask me the same question next year in October, then I can give you a yes or no answer.
Okay, I'm going to do just that. I'm going to make a note to ask you this same question this time next year in October to see exactly what you say. And I hope the answer is yes. And I'm going to, okay, in the effort to close, I'm going to say this. The reason I ask you that is because of all of the roller coasters that I've been on. The only time I've only been able to be successful is when I've remained consistent and diligent and, just determined with, what I set out to do. The moment we fall off or the moment we say, okay, something happened, that said, okay, something happened at work or something happened at home. The moment we allow a reason to enter into the mix, we're automatically going to lose. And I'm going to say with where I am now, as I said, I don't want to be where I am now to look back on even myself when I have fallen. But I have noticed that since the first of the year, every single day, I have, put in rigorous exercising and almost die hard, nutritional plan. And I am down at least, 31 pounds since the beginning of the year. And it required consistency and discipline. And as many times as I have fallen, when I have been consistent and determined, I have seen the results, and that's where I am now. And that's why I asked you that question. And I'm not sure what your answer was, but wherever you are now, I hope it is on a good track and I hope you stay on it. And I will definitely find you a year from now, even if I'm not on a live stream, to ask you how you're doing. But I will say this in closing. There are shortcuts. There are things you can do to lose fast, but I will say this. I am convinced that the only way any weight loss journey is going to be successful is if we are disciplined and dedicated. And there's a saying that says, okay, you can form a habit in 30 days. Well, you can break a habit in 30 days. But normally people who are consistent for a year with the same thing, if I decide I'm going to do 3 or 4 days a week, and then I go for a whole year of being disciplined with what I promised myself, what I said I was going to do, and I mean what I say, and I say what I mean. Normally those are the people who are successful and who usually don't fall off or go up and down like I've done, and clearly like you've done. So I will encourage you that whatever you say you're going to do, mean it, and then do it for a year, and we both will stand a better chance at reaching and keeping and maintaining, the weight that we want to lose, so that we can live healthier lives. I would love to keep you, but I'm going to go ahead and let you go. I really appreciate it. Unless there's anything you want to say about both of the subjects or topics, I will let you go and get your beauty rest, but I will find you in October, because I would like to see, and I hope that you will stick to it. And I would like for you to, of course, pray for me too, and send me well wishes. And I know your prayers are only going to be effective as my determination. I have all intentions of staying on this time, as much as I'm in a good place now. As you said, the moment I allow room for an excuse, I'm definitely going to fall off. So I'm trying to make sure that I don't give room to any excuse, because things can hit us. As I said in the beginning, things happen on the blind side, but how we respond is more important than than anything that can happen to us. If we're determined and something happens on our job or in life or with our family, and we're still determined, we can still reach our goal if we stay consistent. So unless you want to say something, I'm going to go ahead and let you go. Thank you. I owe you one, and we'll talk, on your platform tomorrow.
I do want to say something in closing. I want to tell every person that's dealing with obesity problem or on this journey to weight loss, like you said, stay consistent, but also love yourself. Because regardless if you're 300 pounds or if you're 150 pounds, love yourself. And that's my closing.
Okay, I appreciate it. I will be in touch with you as always. I love you to no end, and I'll be in touch. Thank you again for hanging out with me.
All right, good night.
All right, have a good night. Thank you. There you have it, my friends. Another successful guest, and I appreciate her for being there with me. I've known her for a very, very long time. She's really like one of those non-blood sisters that I would, give her a kidney if she needed it, and she acted right and paid me enough. No, I just kid. She's someone that I have a great deal of love and respect for, and I appreciate her. So thank you again for being with me. I do want to say this in closing. Weight loss is tough. Emotional, problems can hit us on the blind side. It's important that we maintain a healthy mind, a healthy body, and a healthy spirit with everything we go through. Sometimes, there's this saying that goes like this: youth is wasted on the young. And the older I get, the more I realize that, including the youth that I've tossed to the side. But wisdom comes, with time and age and experience for a reason. I'm at a place today. I'm grateful for where I am. I thank God, for being able to come through some of the trying times that I've endured. And I'm looking forward to, a long, healthy, strong, and effective life moving ahead. I am on a good track. I want to stay there. And I just want to remind you, as it relates to whether you're going through something emotional, or you're going through a weight loss struggle, or you're going through a drug problem, or a sex addiction, or gambling, all the power you need is on the inside of you. There's something about a made-up mind that's unstoppable. And I don't care who you are or what you face. Once we make up our mind to do something, there's nothing or no one that can stop us. Even if we die trying, we have to stay consistent and focused if we expect to see results. And I don't care what that is. Took me this long to learn that, but I got it now, and I'm doing the best I can to make sure that I apply it. I want to read my description one more time before I go, and I'm going to get out of here because I have a very early morning, and it's going to start with a 5-mile run that I'm going to try to remain consistent with. So pray for me early in the morning. And in closing, my description says this: we really are responsible for what happens to us. Sure, there are things out of our control, but as it relates to what we can do, our attitude and thoughts take precedence over all negative energy. The moment we allow excuses to enter the equation or give power to outside sources, we start the downhill slide to misery. It involves complaining and or making other things and people our problem. Again, sure, people and situations can hit us on the blind side, and some people can be straight up jerks towards us and do create obstacles, but we must choose wisely how we respond to every situation. Let's just do better in how we see ourselves and our circumstances. Yes, it's very hard, very difficult, but look at those who we admire and ask them this question: if their accomplishments are or were easy. Change is good. Let's review our circumstances and see how we can improve, because we deserve it. Best wishes to seeing things differently and taking steps towards positive change. With that, my friends, I'm going to say thank you for being a part of my live stream. I appreciate it. I'm still in transition mode, and I'm okay with that because it's working. I do have a plan, but I think my content is still there. I promised I would be here, and I'm going to be here, whether it's 5 minutes or 35 minutes or no more than the hour that I at least set up for. So remember, focus on whatever it is you want to do. Be consistent with it and enjoy the success of it. Till the next time, take good care of yourself. Enjoy the rest of your week. Find someone that you need to say I love you to, including yourself. Go to the mirror if you have to. Say I love you and I like you. Don't just say it. Show it and mean it. Till the next time, good night, and I love you.
SWYM. Swim. Say what you mean. As much as this information is designed to bring awareness to how we listen, hear, and process, it is also a form of therapy. The little person inside of all of us needs to be heard. As adults, even listening to ourselves is a form of healing, strengthening, and growth. It's okay to speak, talk, express yourself, and be heard, even if you're the only listener. If our testimony does anything at all for anyone else, that makes the continued effort worth the time. Get the words out. You'll feel better, and that's a promise. Thanks for tuning in. We really appreciate it.
You know, sometimes it seems like all the good times are gone, but you got to keep on searching. You got to keep on keeping on.
Keep on keeping on.
For example,
Take me standing right here today.
I would not be here with you if I believed the things that the people say. You got to keep on searching. Keep on searching.
Keep it on the cool side.
Keep on looking around.
Good night, everybody, and thank you.